This is a story of a Filipino man born with nothing, raised by a family that refused to give up, and how that boy grew into the man who would one day capture the attention of one of America's most powerful billionaires. A man so deeply impressed by him that he made a decision so unthinkable. People still talk about it in stunned disbelief. He bought an entire company just to put that Filipino man back in charge. Before we continue, kindly write in the comment section where you are watching from. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Philippine story like this. Our story begins decades before that moment, long before billion-dollar boardrooms, long before corporate betrayals, long before cameras and reporters started asking, why would a billionaire fight for one ordinary worker? Because the truth is, he wasn't ordinary. And the billionaire knew something about him that the world was too blind to notice. His name was Liam Reyes, and he was born in a small barangay on the outskirts of Quezon province. His childhood home wasn't much. A small bamboo house with slanted flooring, a tin roof that rattled whenever the wind grew mischievous, and windows made of thin plywood that his father hammered back into place every rainy season. His parents, Arturo and Maricel, were the kind of people who seemed to carry both hope and exhaustion in their eyes. They were poor, painfully poor, but they were rich in something far more valuable. The belief that if you raise a child with dignity, faith, discipline, and kindness, the world will eventually recognize him. Liam was a quiet boy, observant and unusually mature for his age. At 7 years old, while other children played tumbang preso or patintero on the street, Liam sat near the kitchen table beside the kerosene lamp, practicing his reading over and over again. His mother often woke in the middle of the night to find him snoring with a book open on his face. His father would simply smile and whisper, "Let him dream, Maricel. Someday these books will take him somewhere we could never reach." But dreams cost money, and money was something the Reyes family barely had. Arturo worked as a tricycle driver whose daily income depended entirely on luck and weather. A rainy day could mean no passengers, no meals, and no hope. Maricel washed clothes for neighbors, earning barely enough to keep rice in the pot. Yet somehow, despite all odds, they always found a way to send Liam to school, even if it meant skipping meals, even if it meant saving coins in a jar hidden under the bed that never seemed to fill fast enough. Liam remembered one day in particular, when he was 8. His father arrived home late, drenched in sweat, exhausted from pushing a broken tricycle uphill in the heat. Arturo didn't have enough earnings to buy dinner, but instead of showing frustration, he knelt down and handed Liam 2 pesos. Para sa project mo, anak. Important in Makatapos ka. Your future is our future. Liam never forgot that moment. He never forgot the hunger. But more importantly, he never forgot the sacrifice behind it. That sacrifice hardened something inside him, a determination so fierce it would one day push him across oceans. By the time Liam finished high school, he had earned the admiration of teachers and neighbors alike. He wasn't the loudest or the most confident, but he was undeniably intelligent. His grades were exceptional, his discipline unmatched. Still, when graduation came, reality hit the Reyes family like a hammer. They didn't have money for college. But fate, as it often does in stories like this, intervened to a small but life-changing miracle. Liam's high school principal nominated him for a local scholarship offered by a foundation supporting underprivileged youth. There were hundreds of applicants and only one slot available. Weeks passed without news. Then one sweltering afternoon, someone knocked on their door. A man in a neatly pressed shirt handed them a letter. Liam unfolded it with trembling hands and read the words that would change the trajectory of his life. "Congratulations. You have been selected." His parents cried openly, tears of relief, pride, and gratitude. That scholarship allowed Liam to study business administration at a state university, where he quickly became known as the quiet achiever, the one who always arrived early, submitted assignment ahead of time, and helped professors organize academic events. He worked part-time in a computer shop and tutored younger students just to afford rent and food, sending whatever extra he could back home. After graduation, he made one of the toughest decisions of his life. He left the Philippines to work abroad, not because he wanted to leave his family, but because he wanted to lift them up. The United States was intimidating, a vast, fast-paced world filled with opportunities inaccessible back home. With only a few thousand pesos in his pocket and a heart full of hope, Liam boarded a plane bound for Los Angeles. As he stared out the airplane window, watching clouds drift by, he promised himself, "I will succeed. I will come back and give my parents the life they sacrificed so much to give me." But the U.S. wasn't the dreamland most people imagined. Liam quickly discovered that for immigrants like him, survival wasn't guaranteed. He worked in restaurants, did night shifts at a warehouse, cleaned offices on weekends. Some nights, he slept only 3 hours. Some months, he barely sent any money home at all. Yet he never stopped trying. Then one day, everything changed. A major American logistics company, known internationally for its scale and innovation, posted an opening for a junior operations analyst. It was one of those jobs everyone wanted but few dared to apply for. Liam applied anyway, certain he had nothing to lose. 2 weeks later, he received an email summoning him for an interview. He showed up in a borrowed suit, nervous but determined. What he didn't know was that inside that building, his life was about to collide with destiny. The company's CEO at the time, Richard Hargrove, was strict, sharp, and famously difficult to impress. The interview panel grilled Liam for over an hour. They tested his analytical skills, problem-solving abilities, and knowledge of supply chain dynamics. And time after time, Liam responded calmly, precisely, clearly. His answers weren't rehearsed. They were sincere, grounded in real experience and an understanding born from struggle. A week later, the offer came. Liam got the job. From the first day, he worked with the same intensity his parents had modeled for him. He arrived before sunrise, stayed after everyone else went home, and took tasks no one wanted. He fixed errors others ignored. He helped colleagues without being asked. He didn't complain. He didn't boast. He simply worked, and slowly, everyone began to notice. But in corporate environments, success is rarely admired by all. 2 colleagues, Brad and Mitchell, resented Liam's rising influence. They were Americans born into privilege, uncomfortable with the idea that a quiet immigrant from the Philippines was outperforming them. The whisper started small. He works too hard. He's trying to impress the boss. He's too perfect. But jealousy is a contagious disease. The breaking point came during a high-stakes project involving sensitive financial reports. Liam handled everything flawlessly, but one morning, the CEO summoned him unexpectedly. On the table lay printed spreadsheets showing unauthorized access to confidential data accessed under Liam's login credentials. The room felt cold. The CEO's voice was stern. "Liam, did you access these files?" Shocked, Liam shook his head. "No, sir. Never." But the digital trail said otherwise. Someone had logged in under his name at 3 a.m. to download files. The truth, which no one yet knew, was that Brad had stolen Liam's access code and used it to frame him. And the company, trying to protect its reputation, moved swiftly. Within an hour, Liam was fired. His badge was taken. His system access revoked. His colleagues avoided his gaze as security escorted him from the building like a criminal. He walked to the parking lot numb, humiliated and heartbroken. How would he explain this to his family? How could he send money home? How could he fight something he couldn't prove? He spent days wondering how dreams so carefully built could collapse so quickly. He didn't know it yet, but someone had been watching him long before the scandal. Someone with enough power to reverse the tide of fate. That man was Daniel Whiteford, an American billionaire investor and major shareholder in the company. Known worldwide for his sharp instincts and tough leadership, Whiteford had built and rescued dozens of companies. He was the kind of man who usually stayed in private jets and boardrooms, far removed from ordinary employees. But every time he visited the company headquarters, he noticed one person, Liam. He saw the way Liam arrived first, the way he anticipated problems before they escalated, the way he remained humble even as others tried taking credit for his work. Whiteford admired that. He admired substance over showmanship, and he especially admired people who rose from hardship without letting bitterness consume them. So when word reached him that Liam had been fired for theft, Whiteford's reaction wasn't disbelief, it was anger. He demanded a full investigation. But the CEO insisted the company needed to move on. When Whiteford saw the logs, even he could tell something was wrong. The timestamps didn't align with Liam's behavior. There was no motive. The story felt planted. The board refused to reopen the case. They didn't want scandal. They didn't want noise. To them, Liam was expendable, replaceable. To Whiteford, he wasn't. A week later, during a board meeting discussing projected losses and mismanagement within the company, Whiteford made an announcement that stunned the room into silence. He stood up, adjusted his suit, and said, "If you won't correct your mistake, then I will correct mine for trusting you." Then he made an offer they never expected. He offered to buy the entire company. It was so outrageous, so bold, so financially staggering that the board initially laughed, until they realized he wasn't joking. He was dead serious. The offer was too big to refuse. Within weeks, negotiations concluded. Contracts were drafted. The company changed ownership. And by the end of the fiscal quarter, Whiteford became the sole majority owner. The first thing he did as a new head, he rehired Liam. The second thing he did, he fired Brad and Mitchell after uncovering the digital evidence of their involvement. But the most shocking moment came during the company-wide meeting, when Whiteford stood at the podium, looked directly at Liam, and announced, this company needed a leader with integrity. Someone who understands the value of hard work, not privilege. Someone who remembers where he came from. So, starting today, I am appointing Liam Reyes as head of operations. This company wouldn't have survived without people like him, and now he will help lead it. Liam froze. The room erupted in whispers. Coworkers stared in disbelief. He wasn't just reinstated, he was promoted, elevated, recognized not for revenge, but for merit. After the meeting, Liam approached Whiteford, overwhelmed. "Sir, why me?" Whiteford smiled, a rare softening of his usually stern face. "Because I know sincerity when I see it. And I know what it looks like when someone is framed for being better than the rest." Liam never forgot that moment. The day a billionaire stood up for him when he couldn't stand up for himself. He used his new position not for pride, but for a purpose. He implemented ethical policies, improved transparency, and built programs to help immigrant workers grow within the company. And when he finally saved enough money, he flew home to the Philippines to surprise his parents with something they never expected. A fully paid house, a retirement plan, and freedom from poverty. His father cried harder than he did the day Liam got the scholarship. His mother hugged him so tightly it seemed she wanted to make up for all the years they were apart. And as Liam stood in front of the new house, listening to the laughter of neighborhood children, smelling the familiar scent of home-cooked meals, he realized something. All the hardships, all the sacrifices, all the tears, they were the foundation of everything he had become. He wasn't just a leader of a major American company. He was the son of Arturo and Maricel, the boy who grew up under a leaky roof, the student who studied under a lamp, the immigrant who refused to break. And the world finally saw his worth, because one billionaire believed in something that others overlooked: character, integrity. humility, the values his Filipino parents planted in him long before the world ever learned his name. This story isn't about a billionaire buying a company. It's about why he did it. He did it because he saw in Liam the kind of leader the world needs more of, a leader forged not by power, but by struggle. A leader raised in a home where love was more abundant than money. A leader who never forgot where he came from, even after he rose higher than anyone ever expected. And in the end, that is what makes this story unforgettable. Because sometimes the world doesn't reward the loudest voices. Sometimes it rewards the purest hearts. And Liam Reyes was born with one of the purest,